Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks, guys. I'm your host, Caleb. Today we've got more spoilers for you, but specifically I noticed there's a few spoilers that can actually end out the game in a couple archetypes that are needing some power. So we're going to talk about those today. Before we do that, you guys can click on all the links in the description down below. You guys can get a free $15 from that Whatnot link, 10% off all of your Tolarian Library proxies whenever you use code DT4D. And additionally, if you guys would just like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps out the channel. I know it's super annoying to ask, but it does help a tremendous amount. So if you're enjoying the videos, it really helps me out. Now let's get right into it. The first card we're going to talk about today is Tanuk Steadfast Second. This is a 4 CMC legendary creature, Kavu Pilot, that says other creatures you control have haste. So right out of the gate, a mass haste enabler can be a game ender in the right deck, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that it says artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp. Warp is this new ability that says you may cast a card from your hand for its warp cost, exile that permanent at the beginning of the next end step, then you may cast it from exile late on a later turn. So that's very useful. Now we're basically discounting all of the cards in our hand and we don't have to throw them into the graveyard afterwards. We can just cast them again from exile. The first thing I thought about with this little combo here is the fact that warping counts as casting. This means if we cast something like a Zukama, a giant dinosaur that says untap all your lands whenever it enters the battlefield for 3 mana instead of the 8 mana it costs, that's going to be massive. Or maybe it's 9 mana. I'm not exactly sure, but the card's right here, so you guys are. So you can actually make this combo off a lot easier now that it only costs 3 mana instead of the original 9 or, 8 mana, whichever one it is. Pretty sure it's 9. Almost positive, right? But anyway, the fact that this reduces the cost to 3 and bouncing it back to our hand doesn't force it to exile, it just goes back to our hand and then we can warp it again. That's kind of absurd to me, and then that does just cause us to go infinite super easily. So for all of you Zukama players out there, this seems like a solid include. Not to mention just mass haste is super powerful and it reduces all of your ETBs that are on 6 cost creatures, which there's a lot of in red. So I think this guy's going to be a staple. If you're looking through your deck, you see a lot of expensive red creatures. They've got really powerful ETBs. Try this guy out, especially if you're in a deck that also just generates a massive board state and you need haste as that solid game ender. Glacial Godma. This is a 7 CMC creature Leviathan with trample that says when this creature enters, you get to create a lander token. That's the thing that allows you to sacrifice it and then search for a basic land. And then it says landfall. Whenever a land you control enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1, gain vigilance and haste until end of turn. I absolutely love this card. One, haste in green is not very abundant. There's Concordant Crossroads, it's 1 CMC, but then it gives everything haste, so if you can't end the game out that turn, you're kind of out of luck. What I like about this is it not only buffs the board state, it gives our entire board state vigilance, and it's going to give our entire board state haste. So if we attack out on all of our opponents, we don't have to worry about the crackback because all of our creatures are still untapped. Additionally, this does pair with one of my favorite cards. You guys know it, Bloodthirster. Now that all of our creatures have vigilance, that means that they get to have all of those extra combat steps with Bloodthirster, and that just is going to end the game on its own. That says more about Bloodthirster than Glacial Godma, but the fact that you can throw this in your mono green decks and have another haste enabler that doubles as a sort of game ender is amazing. Also, the lander token, we can't ignore that there, so because even if we don't have a land to instantly get that trigger, it gives us a lander token, that way we can fetch a land to instantly get that trigger. Put this in your decks that ramp hard and don't have a lot of access to haste, and it will close out a couple games for you. Pain for All. This is a 3 CMC enchantment aura that says enchant a creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. So not only is it solid removal, but additionally it says whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. So now it gets the stuffy doll effect, but it's every single opponent, which can very easily end out the game. They even included a card in the set that does this for us, like the Dawnsire's Sunstar. This says whenever we station it to 10 and whenever you attack, you get to deal 100 damage to up to 1 target creature. Well, just deal 100 damage to the creature enchanted with Pain for All, and boom, you deal 100 damage to all of your opponents. That seems pretty messed up. That's going to be in Standard, right? Standard players, maybe you play this, maybe it's trash, I don't know. I don't play Standard, but that sounds kind of fun, right? Caravan Memorial World. People are shitting on this land, and people are shitting on the station lands in general. They don't think they're going to be that powerful. I, for one, don't think 12 power is going to be that hard to get for, and maybe that's just because I'm a Timmy player. So Timmy players unite. We've got some very strong cards that those control players think is trash. So yes, we are eating good. What I think people are overlooking is you're not going to activate this every turn. You're going to get this to Station 12, you're going to play your massive board state of Scute Swarms out or something very similar, and then you pay the 2, sacrifice the land, create that 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token that grants your entire board +1/+0 and gains the whole board haste. This is literally just a haste enabler on a land, but being a haste enabler on a land is just good enough to end out the game in a lot of decks. So definitely don't, miss out on this, right? Maybe wait for the hype to die down if there's any hype around this card. A lot of people don't think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be very good, but maybe I'm in the minority here, and maybe a lot of people are just talking nonsense and everybody is hyped for it. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Caravan is going to be an amazing land, or do you think it's garbage? Curious to hear your thoughts. Exalted Sunborn. This is a 5 CMC creature angel that has flying, lifelink, and if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. It also has warp too, but why am I putting this as a game ender when we don't really see things like doubling season being game enders on the turn they come down? It's because of that warp cost for 2. The fact that we can go late into the game, spend 2 mana to double up all of our tokens for 1 turn, sometimes that is all you need depending on the deck. Double up your treasure tokens, double up your creature tokens you're creating. Again, depending on the deck, if it's an ETB deck that generates tokens, this can in out the game. So keep an eye out for this one. I do think it's going to be more flexible than all of those other token doubler effects because, again, you can still cast it from warp later. So not only do you get an explosive turn late game, you can also just cast it normally and set up for a turn as well. I think this card's going to be pretty busted. I think it's going to be more useful than the enchantment versions we got of it too. Not to mention it's not a legendary creature, so it can create token copies of itself whenever you do, the thing where you create token copies of creatures. So that's also going to be pretty busted. Look out for this one for sure. Moonlight Meditation, kind of the same vein here, but different. This is a 3 CMC enchantment aura that says enchant artifact or creature you control. The first time you would create 1 or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent. So what if we enchant something like a Gary that says, hey, whenever it enters the battlefield, opponents lose life equal to your devotion to black. And then we hit someone with a Reaver Cleaver and generate 10 treasure tokens. That's 10 Garys, that's going to win you the game. Now that's a very specific strategy, but again, in Blink decks, there's a lot of creatures that generate tokens whenever they enter the battlefield, like a Mere Battlesphere. There's a lot of ways to generate treasure tokens that are not dealing combat damage with the Reaver Cleaver. Maybe it's just an ETB Ruthless Technomancer sacrificing a 10/10, and now you get 10 versions of whatever your most broken creature is on the battlefield. Again, in the right deck, I do think this can win decks. It takes a minimal build around, but honestly, not even that much. If it's an ETB deck, throw it in there. This is going to do some insane things. And the thing is, it resets every single turn. So just generating a clue token and getting a token of whatever's enchanted is going to be better as well. So not only can it be a game ender, it's also super flexible. The Endstone, I'm not going to talk about this one much. Everybody knows this card's absolutely absurd and in the right deck will win games. It's a 7 CMC legendary artifact that says whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. At the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half that life total. I've already talked about this card in several other videos. Everybody thinks it's going to be broken. If your deck generates 7 mana with ease, throw this in there and it can easily win the game. So yeah, that's going to be the end of today's spoilers. Let me know what you guys think about these cards in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys already have decks that you're going to throw these cards into. With the green one, I've been thinking about an Ashaya Storm list for a while, and this is what's going to push it over the edge. Because the thing is, with Ashaya, it turns all of your creatures into lands, right? So now the creature enters the battlefield, the creature's a land, and then it gives all creatures +1, and that creature gains haste. That means we can tap it immediately for mana. So Ashaya Storm, it's coming out, guys. Stay tuned. I'm gonna wait for the set to release, but I'm super hyped about it. With that being said, guys, end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps me out, helps you out. Everybody's happy. See you in the next one.